So my wife's biggest complaint is that I treat my corn better than I do her.
Our guest today runs a market-leading company that you've probably never heard of. But chances are that you consumed his product just this weekend.
We chanced upon an opportunity when my friend ran a cinema chain and he was going to run out of popcorn. And we got into this business on a whim. That journey has brought us today to becoming the fourth largest grower of popcorn in the world.
SBP Pattabi Ramarao built Gourmet Popcornica from nothing. No crop, no market, no playbook, to controlling half of India's popcorn kernel market.
We went to the third largest grower of popcorn in the world. COVID hit. Our entire business was supplied to cinemas. And overnight on 21st of March 2020, 80% of my clients shut shop.
This is a story about building a category, farming at scale, and quietly becoming indispensable.
What we did is we started by trying to understand the farmer's pain. We are not just indulging in contract farming in name, we're doing so with our mind, body and soul.
Your revenue grew from FY16 9.2 crore rupees to 500 crore in FY 2026.
Financial year 27, we're targeting between 500 and 550 crores. By financial year 30, we believe the popcorn business should reach close to 1,000 crores. We've grown to 60,000 tons. The next leap would be to take it to 100,000. About 50% of our corn is moving into rural India. Calendar 25, Nepal imported 40% more popcorn, and that made no sense. That's because a lot of that popcorn then got smuggled across the border into India. I believe there are at least 100 other products where similar agri-revolutions can be brought about.
It's Monday, the 29th of June. I'm Anirban Chowdhury. You're listening to Corner Office Conversation.
Hi Pattabi, very
Hi,
warm welcome to
Anirban.
the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, pleasure's ours. So, let's start with your journey. You started at the Taj, from there to Cookie Man, and from there to becoming the proverbial corn man. Tell me about the trajectory.
So I'm a mechanical engineer, but when I graduated, my father gave me the best advice, the best advice at the age of 22 fell on deaf ears. He asked me to go back to the village and get into an honest business, an agri-manufacturing activity. And I said, Dad, I'm a city boy. What am I going to go do there? So the second option was to join the chairman's office at the Taj as an executive assistant. So I was really doing my best not to go back to the villages, not to get into agriculture when I came to Bombay. I worked here for 6 years, and then I chanced upon the Cookie Man business. They had one store, and they were giving away biscuits free because I didn't know what that meant. And after having eaten 10 cookies, I felt it necessary to talk to the person who was distributing it. Loved the business, and I took up a job there as the chief operating officer, became the Indian partner, and built the first cookie chain in the country. Also had the beautiful recognition that we were amongst the top 6 largest cookie stores in the world. Having done that, we chanced upon an opportunity when my friend ran a cinema chain and he was going to run out of popcorn. And we got into this business on a whim with very little knowledge, with just the base knowledge that people were importing popcorn from abroad and converting it into a ready-to-cook premix and selling it for double the price of corn. With just that much knowledge, we jumped headlong into this business. And we had this belief that we could grow popcorn in India. That belief, if I had to put a word onto it, was just providence. We didn't know that it could grow in our fields, but we believed that, hey, we can make this popcorn grow in India. And that journey has brought us today to becoming the fourth largest grower of popcorn in the world. 1 in 2 popcorn kernels consumed anywhere in India comes from our factories today.
Fantastic. Okay. In some ways, the genesis of this story of Gourmet Popcornica is in the Preferred Popcorn USA licensing deal. Tell me what it was and how did it lead through to the breakthrough that made Gourmet Popcornica what is it?
So when we started and we wanted to bring in popcorn and manufacture premix, we went to the third largest grower of popcorn in the world, Preferred Popcorn. We met with the founder, Norman Krug, and we sold him a story. And the story was that we said, hey, let's do an exclusive deal. We'll import your corn into India. We'll create premixes and get the best cinemas to buy it. And having done that, we'd like your assistance. Give us genetics. We'll grow popcorn in India. So Norman asked me.
And before that, what used to happen? What was the popcorn industry like?
Argentina, Brazil were the biggest sources of popcorn into India before we brought Preferred into the country.
And that was higher quality, the Preferred Popcorn, obviously?
Preferred was far better quality. The whole game in popcorn is how many liters of popcorn do you get for 1 kilo of corn. And the Argentinian and Brazilian corn give anywhere between 38 and 41 liters of popped popcorn for 1 kilo of corn. American starts at 42 and goes up to 48. Therefore, American popcorn is the best popcorn that you can get. What that simply means for a customer is for the same quantity of corn that you're popping, you get more packets of popcorn or more cones of popcorn. What it means for somebody eating is you're eating that much less. Though the cone looks full, because it's a higher expansion, it's lighter on the tummy and you don't eat as much because the kernels pop to a larger size.
And most of the popcorn that we have today is this kind, right?
The Indian market has grown from 70,000 tons 11 years ago to about 130,000 tons. And of that, only about 20,000 tons is still imported. The rest of it is being grown domestically. About 25,000 tons is low expansion, about 25 liters for 1 kilo. The rest of it is our expansion, which is all American quality.
Got it. So now I made you digress. So let's go back to the license you have.
So we went to Preferred and told him the story that, why don't you come with us? And we're not asking for a commitment. We took Preferred on a roadshow, introduced them to the senior managers in all the top multiplex chains in the country. And once they met them and understood that, yes, we could do a business, we then signed up an exclusive license arrangement, which we renewed a couple of years ago. The whole logic of the license was we would build a business using imported popcorn, get the multiplexes in, and then get a buy-in from them to help a project of creating Atmanirbharta in India's popcorn space.
When was this?
This was in 2016. 1 year after we launched, we started the journey of trying to grow popcorn in India. But that journey was not always smooth. To begin with, what happens when an engineer tries to get into agriculture, you don't respect the weather. We planted it in February 2016 in Andhra. So the corn that came out was shriveled because we harvested in the peak summer. And so the corn only came in at 28 liters for 1 kilo. But having done that, we understood that yes, you can grow popcorn, you need to adjust for the environment. Preferred asked us, what gives you the confidence you can grow popcorn in India? Are you an agronomist? So I was honest. I told them that I come from an agricultural family. We've lived in the same village for 700 years. We understand agricultural relationships. I said, I'm an Andhra industrialist. And something tells me that this will grow in our soil. You can't lose. If you are able to grow it, you'll get a great business out of it. Otherwise, we'll keep importing Nebraskan popcorn to India. Based on that one premise, we got permission from the government, tested 12 acres. It came in at 28 liters. But instead of backing down, next year we did a research on 40 acres. But we planted at the right time. And the popcorn that came out was 42 liters. And in 2018, we harvested our first commercial crop of 850 acres. And having seen that it worked, we then upped it to 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. When 5,000 acres came out, COVID hit. Our entire business was supplied to cinemas. And overnight, on 21st of March 2020, 80% of my clients shut shop because they couldn't run their cinemas during COVID. We pivoted and moved our corn into the wholesale markets. If I had to put one reason for why our business developed, it's because we had the guts during one of the most challenging periods that the world faced, COVID-19. We took our acreage up from 5,000 acres at the start of COVID to 20,000 acres by the end of COVID, and continued to move our product into the wholesale market.
No, but let me double click on this a little. What made you? So this was a huge pivot, right? And it was almost sort of foreseeing what would come post COVID and making that pivot just at the start. What made you do that? What were the challenges? What was there in your mind?
So when we harvested 5,000 acres by March 2020. What we realized is, while it sounds like, hey, it's 5,000 acres with several million in India, but no, we're working with poor and marginal farmers. We're working with farmers whose average holding is 2 acres a farm. What we discovered is we were transforming lives. We did what made common sense. We gave our farmer all the seed which we had imported. We also gave all the inputs a farmer needs, whether it's fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide, micronutrients. We supplied all of it on credit to the farmer. Our farmers brought land and labor to the table. We financed everything else. And when we bought the corn out, we deducted for all the material we had sold on credit. We did this because it made the most common sense that if you guarantee the input, you can guarantee the output. The beautiful side effect is we restored something that was priceless to our farmers. We restored dignity of labor. None of our farmers have to borrow money to buy the raw material that's necessary to grow the crop. By doing this, by 2020, our primary customer, the farmers, were lining up to grow more corn. We realized we had more farmers waiting than the crop that we were taking. So we said, let's go ahead and double the crop. When COVID hit and all factories shut, and we were sitting with 8,000 tons, when they reopened the wholesale markets and we moved corn into the wholesale markets, we sold out in 3 months. So we doubled acreage, and COVID hit again in April 21. The second wave came. And this time we sold out by August. So we doubled again to 20,000 acres. Having brought it that far, we also then reached out to the Americans and said, listen, we've now created a sustainable competitive advantage by actually growing the popcorn in India instead of importing it. Now you guys need to start figuring out how to create a tropical hybrid in popcorn, something that's grown in India for India. And the Americans bought into it. They set up a team for us, and we've been working to make that dream a reality. This year, we're in the process of harvesting 36,000 acres, and we're working with 17,500 farmers.
Okay. No, so tell me, I'll take you back. You've sort of traversed almost all your journey in one single answer, and your business as well. But I have to break it down. What does it take to build an entirely new crop from scratch? I mean, if you could tell our viewers this is precisely what you've done. One, first through a licensing deal, but then entirely on your own.
So what we had to do was we had to find the farmers to grow this crop. We recruited professionals. What we did is we started by trying to understand the farmer's pain and how do we transform that life. Our average farmer's incomes have doubled per acre. simply because of the fact that we viewed them as our primary customer. By giving them all the inputs and removing interest costs, by giving them advice, we have one permanent employee for every 150 acres that we farm. That employee is drawn from the farming community in the area that he is living in. By implementing this piece by piece, we stitched together a bunch of farmers.
How big was that bunch?
It was about 400. That was the first 840 acres. The 400 brought in 1,000. The 1,000 brought it to 5,000.
But how do you pay these farmers when the business cycle hasn't even started?
So banks are willing to finance today.
That's how, okay.
We buy all the inputs on credit with financing, and we sell it to the farmer on credit. Today, once we harvest the product, we clear most of our farmers before 30 days is up from the date of harvest. How you do that is you get the corn in. We've got an intricate system of client advances and bank financing that goes towards paying off the farmers.
But was it difficult to convince the first set of 400 farmers that this was a new crop and they were getting into some sort of a gamble, and they didn't know that it would succeed? You were confident, but
So the first 40 farmers grew it simply because we asked.
right.
The next 400 grew it because the 40 had succeeded. That punt was on the person that came and asked them for it. Because we told these farmers that, hey, we're not going to make money on this till it hits 30,000 acres. But we're going to continue building because we want to build a network and bring about a transformation that will transform your life. When I started at 43, more than 50% of the farmers that were working there were elder to me.
Okay.
The big worry was that most of our farmers were in their early 50s. I didn't see kids farming. Today, of my 17,500 farmers, close to 30% are less than 30. Children of farmers are coming back into farming because there are corporates that are willing to buy. We're an agriculturist family that had gone into industry, and I'm the first generation to attempt popcorn. I believe there are at least 100 other products where similar agri-revolutions can be brought about.
Okay. Now, I'm just again sort of taking you back. In 10 years, you started in FY16, your revenue grew from FY16 9.2 crore rupees to 500 crore in FY 2026. So one of the force multipliers, I'm sure, was the huge pivot that you made during COVID. So before COVID, it was just cinemas, and then you became a sort of...
So we were at 9 crores in FY16 because that's the year we got our first breaks. We started supply to PVR nationally in August 15 to my friend at SPI Cinemas
Right.
in April 15. Inox across South India in July 15. We didn't go national with Inox till April 16. So the first year was just setting up and starting 9 crores. When all the chains were taking from us, we were 22 crores for the next 2 years. When we started growing large quantities of corn, we went from 22 to 78 crores when COVID hit.
But still cinemas, only cinemas?
It was cinemas, 58 crores, 20 crores was supplied to institutional clients who were selling ready-to-cook popcorn
Got it.
and ready-to-eat popcorn. The next 4 years saw us grow from 78 crores to 300 plus. And the big reason for that jump was simply that we kept doubling acreage.
I want to understand your cost structure. How cost intensive is this business? I mean, of course, not considering the initial cost structure that you would have. Now that you've scaled up to such an extent, what is the cost structure like and what are your efficiencies?
For every kg of corn that we sell, we are treating that. So my wife's biggest complaint is that I treat my corn better than I do her, because our corn is stored in temperature and humidity controlled warehouses. And we've built those across the length and breadth of the country. We pick up the corn over a 4-month period and then store it and sell it over the full financial year. So while we've achieved economies of scale, and kept the pricing low so as to enable indigenization. Our entire focus is that the farmer gets the bulk of our selling price. So raw popcorn costs account for a very large component, close to between 60 and 70% of our selling price goes to the farmers, is the cost of the corn that we've purchased.
Wow.
And the rest of it, after you net off the overheads, it's still a healthy margin.
Which you can't share.
Which you'll forgive me if I don't publicly give you an exact percentage, but it's a healthy margin. The reality is, in order to get that margin, you have to build the rest of the infrastructure. If we cut corners, or don't work with the best seed, or don't grow the corn right, or don't dry it right, or don't store it right, then you won't get the end game that we've arrived at.
Okay. So if I've understood correctly, and let's get into your relationship with farmers, you supply inputs on credit, you buy 100% of the crop and pay directly into farmers' accounts.
So every one of our, so when we started, what we saw in the specialty corn procurement business in India, which is seed, a lot of people work through middlemen.
Right.
We don't have anyone between us and our farmers. Every one of our farmers is paid by wire transfer, and it goes directly into their bank accounts. Again, the reason we did that is that we wanted 100% clarity that the price we were giving was actually going to the farmer. We also understood that middlemen would declare a certain price, agree a certain price. So we implemented a process where before the season starts, every one of our farmers knows the exact price he's going to get and signs a contract. We are not just indulging in contract farming in name, we're doing so with our mind, body, and soul. We sign contracts with every one of our 17,500 farmers in a language that they understand, so that they know what price they're going to get. And we pick up 100% of the crop from the farmer and sort at our factories. And once the corn is dried and is moving out, the farmer then gets his payment direct into his account. This ensured that there weren't any leakages. But one of the beautiful side effects of that also is that by paying the farmer into his bank account, you're creating a credit worthiness for the farmer. He's now becoming recognized in the official banking world, and the farmers are becoming eligible for more credit. Initially, some farmers resisted it because they were used to getting money in cash. But the overall political environment, the push towards UPI and non-cash transfers also helped us because we were at the forefront. Now, nobody declares a rate for purchase of corn in the area that we're working in until we have declared a price.
Got it. As a price maker, how do you see inflationary forces pushing?
So this year is going to be a huge challenge. So we've bought the corn. So we're going to hold prices steady for the next 8 to 9 months. But the big challenge is going to be the next agricultural season. It's not just petrol and diesel. A lot of our urea also comes out of the Middle East. And that's the big worry, that will we have enough fertilizers? Will we have the ability to bear the shock that the farmer is going to get hit with? Of course, it's going to result in, I believe that we're looking at a 7 to 10% jump in pricing in the next agri season, unless the war comes to an immediate halt.
So you sit at the intersection of agriculture and consumer, right? Now, I've always been very curious, and this was something we discussed when we were talking the last time also, but I'd still like you to clarify this. There seems to be a huge markup in the price of popcorn when you go to multiplexes. And that would lead me to think that those margins are yours. But clearly that's not the case because you're buyer agnostic. You don't know where your kernel goes, right?
No, so we don't get that markup.
Yeah.
As you are aware, we are still supplying to a lot of the multiplex chains in India. And truthfully, popcorn is really where they're looking at to make enough money to be able to pay their bills.
Yeah.
As far as we're concerned, our selling prices are not that high because it's a commoditized product. We've introduced an indigenization, so we are getting a better price than others, but it's a highly commoditized product.
Is popcorn still a very urban phenomenon, or does
No,
it travel
actually,
to?
a few years ago, we started supplies into D-Mart. And if you went into D-Mart stores in rural India, they sell plain popcorn without oil. And customers are picking up this popcorn in rural India. I'm talking about in Rajahmundry, in Kakinada, in Eluru,
Wow.
towns that are not even are less than 1 million in population. There are consumers picking up popcorn, taking it home and popping it in oils, fats of their choice. I believe that the market in popcorn, which 10 years ago was very urban centric, is today at least 50% in the rural parts of the country.
So 50% of your sales comes from rural parts?
We're moving, when I say rural, I'm saying outside the top 20 cities
Got
of
it.
India. Yes, about 50% of our corn is moving into rural India. We're moving full truckloads now into the northeast, to Asansol, to Siliguri, to Guwahati, to Jammu, to Mansa, Ludhiana. We've got trucks going into about 50 cities of India, not just the top metros. The reason the category is now starting to show healthy growth is because the consumption is now being driven in rural India.
Got it. Now, let's talk about challenges. I just today finished an episode on mango, and I spoke to farmers, exporters, etc. All of them were saying it's very, very vulnerable to climate change, and it stands as a proxy to the impact that climate change is having across agriculture. How insulated or vulnerable is your segment to climate change?
So, when I started, we were growing exclusively in Andhra, in what is the cyclone prone zone of India.
Right.
We get between 2 and 5 cyclones every year, hitting between Tamil Nadu and West Bengal. Even though it's the cyclone prone zone, we've managed to insulate farmers. We're now doing popcorn contract farming in 9 states of India, from Tamil Nadu all the way up to UP, from Gujarat to Orissa. By doing so, we've de-risked our business from a climate point of view. The two biggest challenges that are facing the Indian popcorn industry, one is the porous border that we have with Nepal.
Right.
And there's a fair bit of popcorn that gets smuggled over the Nepal border into India. It's a weird stat, but in the calendar 25, Nepal, for the size of the country, imported 40% more popcorn than India did. And that made no sense. That's because a lot of that popcorn then got smuggled across the border into India and is then sold in India, which results in both loss of customs revenue to the Indian government and also a loss of GST revenue when you don't have GST collection on smuggled corn. The second big challenge is now that indigenous popcorn is a reality, traders have started to under-invoice the popcorn that they import into India, thereby reducing the duty they have to pay on their popcorn. If Indian farmers are to continue to make money, we have to sell popcorn at between 80 and 82 rupees a kilo.
Mm-hmm.
And imported popcorn, if they pay their full duty, would be at a similar price. And therefore, you'd be able to compete. But if instead of declaring $600 as the cost of your popcorn and paying the 50% duty, you declared the cost as $450 or $500, you saved yourself $50 as duty, thereby bringing in popcorn and selling it in India at 5 to 7 rupees cheaper than what Indian popcorn would sell at. We have appealed to the Indian government, we're continuing to do so, to request for a minimum import price, which they've done in multiple other products. Thereby, the duty gets levied on the minimum import price, which then removes any rationale for any trader to under-invoice the goods. Because if he has to pay duty at the fixed rate, then whatever price he declares for the goods, it doesn't change his life. If these two are taken care of, which we are hoping the industry will get that relief, India will then be able to grow in leaps and bounds. And we are hoping the day is not far off when India can export popcorn to the world. We've grown to 60,000 tons. The next leap would be to take it to 100,000. And that will happen when these structural challenges get resolved.
Got it. Why haven't you moved to B2C?
Truthfully, at 53, I recognize that that's a younger man's game. Perhaps the next generation, when my 12-year-old daughter joins the business, she'll get into a B2C at that time.
But what would that mean? Making your own popcorn brand?
So we did launch our own popcorn brand.
Okay.
We've dedicated to it, the founder of Preferred, Norman Krug. It's called Krug & Co. And we have 2 stores. We manufacture ready-to-eat popcorn live, and we have a whole range of sweet popcorn. But those stores are more to showcase what you can do with popcorn. They're not really a commercial venture yet. So we've got coconut popcorn, cinnamon flavored popcorn, ginger flavored popcorn, in addition to caramel and chocolate, and we also have strawberry. Now, the flavors we've introduced in sweet popcorn don't exist anywhere else in the world. They only exist in India. Our endeavor would be to keep growing that to create a large bouquet of fantastic flavors not available elsewhere. Create the base, and then when these expansions are done, we'll then look at the B2C range.
2 final questions. When is it that you aim to reach 100,000?
100,000 tons.
And what will be the revenue that you're looking at from 500 crore until then?
So financial year 27, we're targeting between 500 and 550 crores. By financial year 30, we believe the popcorn business should reach 100. We should have reached close to 1,000 crores, and that we should be doing more than 100,000 tons in popcorn production by then. The industry itself should have grown and doubled in size again, as it's today growing at between 12 and 15% a year. So by 31, 32, we would have doubled, the popcorn industry in India would have doubled from 130,000 tons this year to 250 or 260,000 tons.
Right. This is a question I should have asked you in the very beginning. Who's your competitor?
So, not to sound arrogant, but we're the only organized popcorn company in an otherwise unorganized industry. We're the only company that's attempting to grow at scale. When you remove our cultivation, the next largest grower would be between 500 and 600 acres. There are at least 10 companies trying to grow popcorn in India, which are trying to copy our systems and processes. But the next largest seller would be a trader. There are at least 4 or 5 traders who are about 5% each in size compared to us.
Right. So that's the 50%. That's the remaining 50% of the market. Okay. You've said that this model can be replicated on other crops. You mentioned oats. Is that the next frontier you are looking at?
So we're looking at, we've democratized the Indian popcorn industry.
Yep.
Similarly, we believe democratization is required in multiple other industries. Where we have diversified, we're now looking aggressively at seed. We're looking at growing different variants in seed. Since we've already started work there, commercial launch of those portfolios will happen over the next year. We have started work on breeding in oats. It's not yet at a level where we can say we are ready to launch. We've also gotten into oil palm, because that's one big area where it's a need of the hour for India. Vegetable oil remains the second largest food import bill, and we're looking to see if we can do our 2 bits to change that. We're very small. We've got just 7,000 acres under contract farming in palm oil today, but we're hoping that in the next 10 years, that will reach 100,000 acres. There also, we're working not in the traditional oil palm zones, but we're trying to do something different. One of our zones is paddy rich. So we're converting traditional paddy lands into oil palm, and the farmer continues to grow paddy for 3 years in the middle of islands where the oil palm is growing in his land. The big focus of palm oil companies traditionally growing in India has been to go after the 10 and 12 acre and the 15 acre farmer. Our focus is to go after the marginal farmer. The reason being the 12 and 15 acre farmers have found a way to live. It's the poor and marginal farmer that is one crop away from falling into debt traps.
Okay.
So it's those farmers that are the focus of our popcorn business, are the focus of our oil palm business, our seed business, and what we are endeavoring to do in oats.
Patabi, tell me about the oats industry. Are we also importing most of our oats?
Now, even in corn, the world's biggest MNCs are here for dent corn. They have a presence in India. They sell dent corn seed. Farmers grow 45 million tons a year of dent corn. But in popcorn, no one came because the industry is only 100,000 tons. Therefore, no one was here. Similarly, in oats, India grows a lot of animal consumption oats, whereas human consumption oats is almost 90% imported.
Okay.
Or was when we started. There are a few brands that have already started breeding work in growing oats for their own consumption, but a majority of it still gets imported. So we've started work to try and get a genetics into India to get varieties or to do breeding, crossbreeding with varieties in India to create a human consumption oats variety.
And here, preferred popcorn can't help you.
My partners in America, unfortunately, are not able to help us in this because oats is not a specialty for them. Most of the oats that enters India comes from Australia and some of it from Canada. So we've started our journey in trying to find a technology provider who can help us bring the right quality oats into India.
Right. Have you never thought of inorganic growth when you get into other segments like acquisitions?
So God has been very kind to us. We're not in this business with a huge amount of PE funding. We're not driving the business with a view of can we acquire someone else and then get inorganic growth. So our growth will happen organically, perhaps inorganically to the extent of getting further new technology and genetics into India, which we've already achieved in our seed division. We have executed contracts with 2 different kinds of seed to bring in varieties that don't exist in the country. But the attempt will be to continue organic growth with the focus being on transformation.
So from corn man to oats man to probably palm oil man, we wish you all the very best. Thank you, Patabi, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Anirban. Pleasure to be here.
That's it for today. This was the latest episode of Corner Office Conversation, where we talk to the most interesting business and thought leaders from India and the world. Keep listening to our other podcasts, including The Morning Brief, on your favorite listening platforms. Stay tuned.